Why does this man always have an apple in his hand?
Hey guys, welcome back to another day of Bookmas. In today's video, I'm going to be reading a very popular YA fantasy series that I never read. It made its rounds a few years ago on booktok and booktube, and for some reason, I just never picked it up. That's right, I will be reading the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. The first book is called Once Upon a Broken Heart, and I watched people read this series and love it, but it just never spoke to me. But it's speaking to me now because I placed a hold on Libby specifically to read this for Bookmas, and that hold is available. So if it's for free, it's for me. I'm going to read it and I'm going to give it a chance. Even if the writing feels too YA for me, I think the story might still be interesting to me because the summary sounds pretty good. This is what it says. How far would you go for happily ever after? For as long as she can remember, Evangeline Fox has believed in true love and happy endings, until she learns that the love of her life will marry another. Desperate to stop the wedding and to heal her wounded heart, Evangeline strikes a deal with the charismatic but wicked Prince of Hearts. In exchange for his help, he asks for 3 kisses to be given at the time and place of his choosing. But after Evangeline's first promised kiss, she learns that bargaining with an immortal is a dangerous game, and that the Prince of Hearts wants far more from her than she'd pledged. He has plans for Evangeline, plans that will either end in the greatest happily ever after or the most exquisite tragedy. Let's read it! This is Maddie from the future. I just wanted to tell you guys that this is going to be a completely spoiler-free reading vlog. If you have not read the trilogy, you are safe to watch this video. I will not talk about any plot twists or like major surprises in the book. I will just be reacting to the book and honestly giving you nothing. Nothing in terms of spoilers.
Takes all of my patience to slow it down.
Hey everyone, I really did not read that much last night because Secret Lives of Mormon Wives season 3 came out, and I love that show. I am on part 2 of the story, almost 20% through with the book, and there are 3 parts in this book. I can't really say too much about how I'm feeling right now because I'm always like, I'm really enjoying it, and then I get further into the book and I hate it. So maybe I'll give you more of an update when I'm halfway through with it. I think I can get to 50% tonight, but I do have to say, the writing doesn't feel cringy or too YA to me because this is young adult. Yeah, it doesn't feel too young at all, and the story is fast-paced. It's moving already, and a few of the chapters have ended in cliffhangers that made me want to keep reading and figure out what's going on, so that's a win. There was one sentence I wanted to read that was funny, the only sentence that I've highlighted so far. Marisol had never visited Evangeline at the bookshop. Marisol never really left the house. She barely left her room, and she looked visibly uncomfortable at having done both today. True, that is very relatable. Goodbye.
Hey guys, it is now 9:30 p.m. and I am officially halfway done with the book. I'm 51% through with it, and it says I have 2 hours and 42 minutes left in the book. I can totally finish this tomorrow. Now that I'm halfway through with the book, I feel like I can express my thoughts more. And honestly, I'm enjoying it. It's not making me want to stay up until 2 a.m. reading it, but it could eventually later into the book. I don't know, maybe the first book will end with a cliffhanger and I'll want to pick up the second book right away. I'm not thoroughly obsessed with it, but I'm also not hate reading it. I actually enjoy the writing and the story and the world. The magic is making sense to me. I really don't know much about this book, and I'm not going to Google search anything to confirm my suspicions because I don't want to spoil anything. But I remember people saying that this is a love triangle. I don't exactly know. I've met one of the love interest. I think we all know who that is. That's not a spoiler. It's on the back of the book. Well, I think he's a love interest. I could be bamboozled at this point. I don't know. It's Jax, right? I don't know, the Prince of Hearts or something. And then when Evangeline travels up north to attend the ball, we meet our second love interest. I don't know. And I will not confirm or deny if I'm right, because that will be a spoiler. Other thoughts on the book so far. Why is Jax always holding an apple? Why does this man always have an apple in his hand? Is that a plot point? Am I missing something here? I better get answers. Also, I'm on to her stepsister. Yeah, I think she's gonna betray her somehow. I think that's all I have to say right now. I'm excited to see where this goes, and I'll definitely finish it tomorrow morning. We're gonna put in some work. Gotta get this done for Bookmas, y'all. I was not looking forward to reading this because I really thought I would hate it from the start, but I'm pleasantly surprised. It is enjoyable. So far, I could see this being a 3-star read. Good night.
Once Upon a Broken Heart this weekend. I think I started it Friday night and then I finished it Sunday evening. And let me share you my thoughts on the book, of course, spoiler free. So I don't think I updated you since I got 50% through the book, so a lot of these comments are just for the second half of the book. We were introduced to vampires in this world. That was unexpected and it was fun because I love vampires. I love Twilight. Got my Twilight book right here. And also, I'm a little confused if I just made up in my head that this book was a love triangle or where I heard that, because I don't know if I believe that anymore. Isn't it pretty obvious who we think she's gonna end up with? I also like how they bring back characters in this book that you think will never be mentioned again, but somehow they're always connected back into the story and the plot. And that always shocks me when you think you're done with the character and then boom, their story isn't over yet. So that was fun and it definitely shocked me at some points. And the last thing I have to say is the ending definitely left me intrigued, and I will absolutely continue this series. Not just for the video, but because I am genuinely interested in where the story is going and how things are going to be solved. I think I would give this book 3 stars. I had a good time, but it wasn't anything special. So I think 3 stars is a pretty fair rating, and maybe my rating will be higher for the second book. Who knows? I could become more obsessed with the series with every book. So I had the first book borrowed from the Libby app, and the second book in the series has quite a long wait on it, but I went on to my other library app called Hoopla. Don't forget about Hoopla if you guys have a library card, because most of the time you don't have to wait for books at all, or if you do, it's not as long as the wait on Libby. However, they don't always have every format of every book. Like sometimes they just have the audiobook for a book or just the ebook. So for the second book, the only one that's available right away is the audiobook. So I did download that and I'm going to listen to that today. I really hope listening to this series as an audiobook doesn't ruin it for me, because I do have such a hard time really locking in on audiobooks, especially fantasy. I never listen to fantasy books on audio. However, it might be easier for me to follow since it is YA and I read the first book and I understand the world and most of the characters. I never said the name of the second book. It's called The Ballad of Never After.
I don't wanna call you later. You're tearing my heart.
I'm going to go on a walk before it gets dark and continue listening to my audiobook. I'm on chapter 10 already. Let's go.
Like it's paper and somehow you turn to a stranger. We used to work, now I'm trying to make sure that we're both on the same page. I don't want it to complicate. I know you're riding away. Is there room?
I have not talked to the camera in forever, so it's time for an update. I am 83% through with The Ballad of Never After. I've been listening to the audiobook this whole time and I hate that I'm doing that because, as I predicted, I'm not as invested. It's hard for me to pay attention to audiobooks, especially if they're fantasy. I don't know. I feel like I would rather read the book, but I do enjoy listening to memoirs and nonfiction as audiobooks because I like hearing the author's story in their own voice. But I almost never listen to romance or fantasy audiobooks. Not for me. So I fear that is ruining my experience because I just frankly don't really care about the story anymore. I cared about the beginning of the story. And don't get me wrong, a lot has been happening and I'm following what's going on, but I still am just waiting for a grand reveal in book 2. We need some answers. We're slowly getting some, but things are not quite adding up. And I fear that we won't get any answers until the end of the 3rd book because this is a trilogy. I feel like the author is throwing out so many different theories or trying to lead you in different directions, so you don't know where this is going, or maybe I'm just genuinely not paying enough attention to the audiobook. There have been some sweet moments between Jax and Evangeline, but then they go back to hating each other, and then I see Jax interact like Evangeline is a stranger to him, and I'm like, do they like each other at all? I get it's kind of like enemies to lovers. They're just not my favorite characters of all time and not my favorite couple. I'm still assuming that's who she's gonna end up with. Who knows? I just don't get why people obsess over Jax because I'm still not seeing it fully from him. We've seen a little bit more of romance, but I'm sure we will get more in the 3rd book, but not that much because it is YA. It doesn't feel like the writing is too young. I'm just not really invested in the story anymore. I might have to sit down and read the 3rd book so that way I don't have this feeling again, but I already have the 3rd audiobook for free. We'll see. I think I can finish listening to this tonight and then I will come back with my final update. Hopefully something crazy happens. Audiobook of The Ballad of Never After, and I have no feelings about this series anymore. I screwed myself over though. I admit it. This was my fault. I said I don't want to listen to the audiobook because I feel like I'll become disinterested and I'll be taken out of the story and not know what's going on, and guess what? That exact thing happened. I did find a bunch of blog posts and reviews on Goodreads where it basically told me the ending since I did zone out for the most part, and I don't know, I'm just not that impressed with the ending either. I started A Curse for True Love because I have the audiobook. It was available right away on Libby, and I'm 46 minutes into it, but guys, I think I'm gonna DNF the series, and maybe I'll just look up spoilers because at this point, I feel like this is holding me back. I'm only continuing this series right now for this video that I'm filming for Bookmas. Otherwise, I don't think I would push myself to continue. And at this point, I don't want to complain about the series because some people love this series, and I genuinely think if I had sat down and physically read it, my thoughts would be different. Because I did enjoy the 1st book when I read it, but the 2nd book, audiobook wasn't working for me. And I predicted that. So I think this is the end of this video. I'm sorry it didn't go the way you wanted to or I wanted to, but it's probably better for me to just stop now. Because if I continue listening to this audiobook, I feel like I will actually come to hate it or dread listening to it because I could be reading other things and finishing other videos for Bookmas, because now low-key I feel like I'm behind. At the time of filming this, it is November 24th and I only have, with this video, 4 videos up and edited, thumbnails done and stuff like that. How did I get so behind? If you guys think I'm crazy for DNFing this, comment down below and maybe I'll come back to it at another time. But honestly, I think I'm just going to spoil the series for myself. Sorry! I'm really glad I did read the 1st book though, and I gave this series a chance. 1st book was better than I expected, and that's all you can ask for. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it or some of it, and subscribe for more bookish content. I'll see you guys tomorrow for another day of Bookmas. Bye!